hi there. I didn't see you come in. That's my little sitcom entrance bit. My name is Jeremy Siskind. I am the author of the Jazz Piano Fundamentals series. I'm the author of Playing Solo Jazz Piano, and I'm the author of Solo Standards for Piano. You can get them from Amazon, but if you get them at my site, if you order the hard copy book, I also send you the PDF. Not going to happen with those fat cats at Amazon. So head on over to jeremysiskind.com. But only if you like a deal. Okay, I'm being very silly today. But what we have to talk about is quite serious. This is, in some ways, the second part, but this should be able to be standalone. I'm talking about having a more modern jazz piano sound. And to me, like, Brad Mehldau is kind of at the core of this sound, and there's lots of other great pianists around him. Think about Aaron Parks, think about Jeff Keyser, even Gerald Clayton, to some degree Sylvan Fortner, although he's kind of doing his own thing. But one of the elements that these guys use is what I think of as pop chords. And so I've done this demonstration recently, so apologies if you're a devotee of this channel and you're seeing this for the second time. But the idea here is that we're going to find an upper structure, a chord that we can find within another chord. And then we're going to make it not just a triad, but we're going to add either the second or the fourth to this triad. So, example that I gave in the last video, a very simple level. If we have an F major 7 chord, F, A, C, E, within that chord we can find an A minor triad. And then, in order to make this voicing, we're going to add either the second of that A minor triad, so not of the original chord, not of the F major, of this new chord that we found, which we call an upper structure, or the fourth. Now, it's somewhat uninteresting for minor chords. The sound's much more bright and more interesting for major chords. So let's add the ninth to this F major chord. Now we get a C major, and now we can add a 1, 2, 3, 5 kind of a pop chord, or a 1, 3, 4, 5 kind of a pop chord. All right, so that's the general concept we're going for here. And I want to show you how I would take that concept and use it for the tune Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered. Why this one came to mind, not exactly sure. Brad Mehldau does play a really beautiful version of this. I think it's off of Art of the Trio, Volume 3. Please go ahead and correct me in the comments if I'm not correct about that. There's lots of different ways to harmonize this tune. This is just one of them. So, if you don't like it, I'm sorry. I apologize. But here's how this tune generally sounds. So that's the basic idea. So what if I wanted to play this tune in a more kind of modern style? What kind of voicings could I put in my left hand? So I'm going to be focusing on this 1, 2, 3, 5 or 1, 3, 4, 5 idea. So for this first chord, we could actually take our C triad and either just add the second or add the fourth. Let's add the fourth because that's going to be a little bit more interesting, I think. Okay, so you can see I have F here beneath a C triad, G, C, and then E on top. Honestly, actually before we do that, let's check out. We could also use alternately the 1, 2, 3, 5. Now notice that this chord is marked as a C major 7, at least in my little lead sheet. You could disagree with that, etc., etc. And neither of these choices would include the 7th. And that is part of, giving it this modern sound, is that we might change the character of the chord a little bit. this very same voicing that we started the C major with would actually work really beautifully if I can technologically move it over, which right now I cannot. It would work really beautifully. Nope, it's not gonna work for me. Cool. Great, it's going great. I'll just write it out here like a Neanderthal. It would work so nicely for the D minor 7. Why? Because it has the 3rd and the 7th, the F and the C, plus that G is the 11th and E is the 9th. So it's kind of funky that you could use the same voicing for C major and D minor here. You could also try to use an F major. Maybe like 1, 2, 3, 5. That also captures that same sound. Now here we have a C over E, and the like intuitive thing for me to do is to do so 1, 2, 3, 5 sound. Now notice I'm putting these in inversions. In jazz, we're rarely going to play a triad in root position. There's just too many thirds. It's not going to sound very good. So this is the 5th, the root, the 3rd on top, and then the 2nd or in between. Sometimes I might call that note the 9th because we're thinking about these 1, 2, 3, 5 triads. I'm just thinking of it as the 2nd. Now here's where we could really have fun, because as we get to dominant chords, our options really, really expand. So let's take a C sharp triad. And I'm choosing that largely because it has the 3rd of the chord. Now here we could add as the 2nd a D sharp. And that is, technically a quote-unquote illegal note. It's the major 7th. But this is the kind of leeway this 1, 2, 3, 5 or 1, 3, 4, 5 gives you. And I could totally imagine Brad Mehldau playing that. Listen to how it sounds in context. Let me see if I can do a good job. Right? It sounds really nice and unexpected, even though it's the quote-unquote wrong chord. From here, I want to make sure I really resolve that well. So I might do like an A minor triad. I said minor is less interesting than major, and I could add the 4th. Could do that. All right, and then I have a diminished chord, and so now again, here's another place where I have lots of interesting options. They're not all necessarily going to fit really cleanly with that diminished chord, but they're going to sound cool. So let's see, what are some triads that we could use with F sharp diminished? Well, so we could use an F triad or anything a minor third away from F. So we could use an F, A flat, B, or D triad. Let's use that A flat. That's a really unexpected color. Voicings are getting high, so I'm going to bring them down. So there's an A flat triad. And I could really imagine using either the 2nd, which would be B flat, or the 4th. The 2nd's a little bit more intuitive. The 4th, though, is going to really be an unexpected note. Now, both of these notes, I recognize again, they don't technically fit with an F sharp diminished. But that's okay. That's part of the process here, is we're going a little bit outside of these chords. So I think that's really fun, that A flat triad with the fourth add. All right, I've got my second line here. I'm probably not going to get too creative because we just had like this really, really tense chord. So I'm going to stick with just a C triad, and I'm going to add the 2 on top. Okay, so this is in first inversion. The third is on bottom. Then we get to A7, and here's an interesting moment where the ninth, we have the 9th and the natural 13th, so we have kind of limited alterations that we could put on here. And so one thing I might do is I might start with one type of chord and then change later in the measure. So here, this is a G triad. Gives it that sus sound. And yeah, what the heck. So then we'll go to an E flat triad. That's the 7th, the flat 9, and the sharp 11, or the flat 5. And now, this is going to get really crunchy, but we're going to add the 4th, A flat. So this is an E flat triad. We're adding the A flat. And let's resolve that to somewhere kind of predictable. Maybe just a D minor triad with the 4th added. Man, so we got another dominant chord, which means there's a lot of cool possibilities again. I don't know if I want to go like nuclear here because we just had so much color. So I'm gonna kind of skip over this chord in terms of our process because it's just like, I don't want to cause a whole scene again. All right, so here's an F triad for the D minor 7. And then for the G7, let's do something fun. Let's do an E triad that's got the flat 9, right? G sharp is the same as A flat, the 3rd and the 13th. And then I'm going to add in the 4th. So now listen to my version of this melody, just playing these new chords. Let's see how it sounds. It could be cool. It could not be so cool. Time will tell. To those of you who are really eagle-eyed, you'll notice that I actually wrote out that second line wrong rhythmically. should be a half note at the beginning and then 4/8 notes, and that's why it all sounds a little bit weird rhythmically. But that doesn't really negate anything I've told you about these voicings. You can hear how that gives me a taste of that Brad Mehldau-esque sound. Of course, any artist as great, as prolific, as absolutely brilliant as he is cannot be summarized in one single theory concept, but this gives you a little bite at that apple, a way to get some part of that sound. If you enjoyed that, you might actually enjoy playing a specific arrangement I've got here, Softly as in the Morning Sunrises in Solo Standards for Piano, Volume 1. And it grabs a lot of those concepts. You can see how you might use those concepts in a full arrangement. Thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, why don't you comment with the word softly so that I know that you made it all the way to the end. Thank you so much for watching.